Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today I'm here to present you my TBR pile for the month of March.
It's coffee time.
So first of all, this is my new Nightmare on Elm Street t-shirt that I just thrifted and I love it. Look at the back. Ooh, we love it. So that being said, I have for this month only selected one book per category. So if you don't know, I made a video about my TBR cart and I decided to make 9 categories and read one book per category every month, just to try to get to as many books from my old TBR piles and physical TBR as soon as possible. And decide which books I want to keep or not, because they keep accumulating and until I read them I have a hard time to unhauling them. You know, I feel like I want to give them a fair chance. So the goal this year is to get through a lot of my physical TBR piles, so I developed 9 categories. Now the month of March has also a lot of interesting new releases, so I have decided to make a TBR pile of officially only 9 books, and then if I want I can add more books to the pile. So before we check the categories and the books that I have chosen for each one, if you love horror, if you love books, please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not a subscriber yet, and also hit the notification bell before you leave so you don't miss any more coffee times. So the first category is always new release, because I use this category to vlog and do a spoiler-free review of a new release every month. Now I have pre-ordered this book, which is Later by Stephen King, and it comes out officially on the 2nd of March, but Amazon says it's not going to be delivered until the 16th, so we shall see. I hope that they fulfill their promise, because The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor, I pre-ordered it on Amazon, it never came, and I had to cancel that pre-order, and I have now purchased it through Book Depository, but they also have not shipped it yet. So seems like new releases are currently cursed for me. So just pray for my soul. This is a story of secrets that we try to bury so deep, and we follow Jamie. He is a boy that lives with his single mom, and basically he realizes that he is special, that he has a talent, he has some sort of powers, and that is all I know. I'm thinking this is going to go more in the thriller direction, even though it is marketed as horror, but you know, based on the last releases from King, I'm expecting it to be more thriller than horror. It is kind of like a coming of age story that is going to get our main character to question what's right, what's wrong, and needless to say, I'm really excited because it's a Stephen King book. So as soon as I get my copy, I will start vlogging my reading experience for you guys. The next category is non-horror, and here I have picked a book that I've been meaning to read for some time because it does explore grief and I absolutely love that, and that is The Last Time We Say Goodbye by Cynthia Hant. And this is a YA contemporary book, and it has a trigger warning for suicide. So we follow this girl whose life was perfect. She had her family, her boyfriend, her brother, and everything changes when her brother commits suicide, and then basically she's just known as the sister from, you know, the guy that committed suicide, and she has trouble coping with life and moving on from that. So it deals with death and grief, and these are topics that I always love to read about because they tend to be such powerful stories and such an exploration of like our humanity in a way that I really love stories about grief. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. The next category is book series, because I do have some book series that I started that I still have not finished, and that is the case of The Diviners. So in March I'm finally gonna pick up this chunky big boy Lair of Dreams by Liva Bray, which is book 2 on the Diviner series. This is YA fantasy. I have realized I have a lot of YA books this month in my TBR pile, which is nothing bad, just a coincidence. I will tell you what the first book is about. So we follow Evie, and we are in the 1920s, and she discovers that she has a power. So her parents think that she is, you know, not behaving properly, to society standards and all of that. So they decide to punish her and send her to live with her uncle. And her uncle is this weird guy that has this museum of kind of curiosities and things. And when she's there, there is the serial killer on the loose, and she tries to use her power to catch this killer. And I really enjoyed the first book. I absolutely flew through it, even though it's also as chunky as this one. And I never continued the series, and I think I read the first book in 2019. So it's been a little bit, it's been a hot minute. So I think it's time to finally pick up the sequel. The next category is to pick a book from my old TBR pile, and for that I have chosen The House on Cold Hill by Peter James. This is a horror thriller, and it has a sequel, so we'll see. If I like this one, I'll pick it up. And it's about this family that do everything they can, even though financially is not the best, to move to this country house because that's been always their dream. But when they move to this house, they realize that they are not alone in the house. There seems to be a ghost in the house. So I'm really excited to check this one out. I don't think I've ever read anything by this author before, so we shall see. The next category is to read one of my ebooks, because honestly I always neglect those so much and I just keep buying more, and you know, it's getting a little bit ridiculous. So for these I have chosen Mexican Gothic, because I purchased this last year the moment it came out, and then I never read it. Good purchase. I was like, oh, I need this book, I'm gonna get the ebook so I can read it right away, and then I never did. And this is a gothic horror story. I have heard many good reviews about it. Even people that didn't think they were gonna love it, they did. All I know is that this woman receives a letter from her cousin. She seems to be distraught. She is kind of asking for help, and she decides to travel to Mexico to try to figure out what's happening with her and her new husband. And she, I guess, moves in with them there with her cousin and the new husband. I've heard really good things about this one. I'm only scared that maybe it's going to be really slow paced, but I hope that it's gonna be for me. So the next category is spooky middle grade. Now, I thought at the beginning maybe I should leave this spot open in case I do get Bridge of Souls, which is the book 3 on the Cassidy series by V. Schwab. But since I don't know if I can buy it and get it in March, I have decided that I'm gonna leave this spot open for that book. And anyways, I have the 3rd book on the Morrigan Crow series. I have Holopox by Jessica Toten, and I'm gonna be reading that one for our read-along for this series, which is also a middle grade, a fantasy middle grade. So I'm definitely gonna be reading some middle grade in the month of March. The next category is YA horror. For this one I have picked a horror slash thriller, and that is Horror Lake by Kat Ellis. So this book came out last year and I really loved the premise, so I grabbed it right away and I didn't have time to read it. But we follow the daughter of a filmmaker, and her father did this horror movie that got really popular in this small town of Horror Lake, and she ends up having to move there to this town, and she realizes that there have been weird disappearances in this town and some secrets are coming to light. So really excited, because you guys know I love my horror combined with the film industry. The next category is actually novella, but I don't currently have any horror novella that I have not already read, because I ended up reading I think 3 novellas in the month of February. So I have chosen just a shorter book on my old TBR pile, and that is Teacher's Pet by Richie Dunkersley Cusick. And this is a point horror book about Katie. She loves horror and she decides to go to these writing convention to learn about writing horror stories, and apparently things don't go that well. So yeah, I love these ones. These point horror books are so easy to binge and to enjoy, kind of guilty pleasures. But yeah, I've had this one for a while and I still have not read it. And the last category is to read a thriller, and for this, wait for it, because I have chosen Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Finally getting to it. I've been dying to read this book. Like, my love with Riley Sager is strong. So I'm hoping that this one is not gonna be a disappointment. So far I have loved them more or less, but I've loved them all, so we shall see. But the plot of this story, I feel like I have you know, told people many times before, but we follow Maggie, and 25 years ago she lived in this kind of Victorian mansion with her family, and her dad wrote a book about it and about all the ghosts and creepy things that happened in the house, and she thinks that everything he wrote was bogus, like it was not real. But then she inherits this place and moves there to realize that maybe the stories that her dad wrote were actually true. So I'm expecting kind of like a haunted house story, I guess, by the premise, or a ghost story. I don't really know. With Riley Sager, you never know. Sometimes the twist just comes on your face and you were not expecting it. That's what I love about his books, that there are some things you can kind of predict and kind of see, but there's always that one thing that just slaps you right on the face that you never saw coming. So these are the books that I have officially put on my TBR pile for March, but there are some new releases that I might just grab if I can, like The Lost Village and You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes, which is book 3 on the You series. Like I mentioned before, I might also grab Bridge of Souls. So there is too many new releases in the month of March that I really feel like I need to read. So I am keeping my TBR pile to only 9 official books, and then if I end up buying those new releases, then I will read them as we go. Plus I also should catch up with my NetGalley backlog. Okay, we're gonna do what we can do in the month of March. Let's keep it real here. And when you get to see my wrap up, you will get to see exactly the things that I did manage to read. I'm gonna try my best, but there is a lot of things that I want to read. I feel like you guys understand me. I feel like I'm not alone in this, but I just wanted to provide you guys with a kind of like an official TBR pile, but I always can make changes or add books as I go. Alright you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below, what are you going to be reading in the month of March. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support, and I hope to see you all guys in the next coffee time. Bye!